Russell leaned back in his leather chair like he was doing me a favor. That smug half smile, fingertips pressed together, elbows out like he was holding court. "We've decided to bring in someone more cost-effective," he said, smooth as glass. That was it. 10 years, gone with one line. "My name's Nate Collins. I'm 41 years old. I live in Hoboken, New Jersey. I spent a decade building the backbone of Cintel systems. Skipped birthdays, missed vacations, slept under my desk during outages. And this guy, he didn't even blink. Quick note, before we go any further, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below." I nodded slowly, keeping my face neutral. "Thanks for the notice," I said. He actually inside? I was white hot. I didn't scream. I didn't slam the door. I took the elevator down without a word, ignoring the assistant who gave me a tight, pitying smile. Russell probably thought he just pulled off the cleanest firing in corporate history, saved a chunk of budget, trimmed the fat, made room for some Ivy League golden boy. What he didn't know, what nobody in that office knew, was that the software keeping his precious company alive didn't belong to him. It belonged to me. I wrote the original logistics engine on my own time, in my apartment, 3 years before Cintel even existed. When I signed on, I let them license it. Quietly, legally, no one ever asked, so I never brought it up. They just assumed it was theirs. It wasn't. They used it, built on top of it, bragged about how streamlined their systems were. But the core, the part that made the whole thing work, that was mine. So sure I'd train the new guy. I'd smile through 2 weeks of fake goodbyes and sideways glances. But when that clock ran out, so would they. The elevator ride down felt like it was sinking through cement. I stood there stiff, arms crossed, watching the floor numbers blink past like a countdown. Everyone else avoided eye contact. One guy from accounting coughed and stared at his phone like I wasn't even real. When the doors opened, I stepped out into the wind, cold, sharp, early November, biting through my coat. I didn't button it, didn't even feel it. My legs moved, but my brain was still stuck upstairs in that glass cage. I crossed the street, barely looking, didn't care. Horns blared behind me. Some guy yelled out his window. I kept walking. 10 years. 10 years of saving their asses, and this is how it ends. You know how many times I patched that system at 3 a.m. without asking for overtime? How many? The full patent. I opened the PDF, page after page of dry legal text, clauses, ownership statements, license terms. Back when I first joined Cintel, I had a friend, Sheila, patent lawyer from college, help me draft it airtight. She warned me, "Companies act loyal until the budget tightens," she'd said. "Own your code, always." Thank God I listened. The license was renewable every 2 years. Last time Russell re-upped was 18 months ago, right after a system crash nearly tanked their West Coast servers. He was real polite back then, bought me a bottle of scotch and signed the renewal the same day. This time, nothing. No mention, no offer, no clue. I scrolled to the termination clause. In the event of licensee termination of employment, all rights to the licensed property shall expire immediately unless explicitly renewed in writing by the licenser. I sat back and stared at that sentence. They didn't just fire me. They fired the only person keeping them legal. I wasn't going to touch their systems or damage a thing. All I'd do was enforce the contract they ignored. I was just going to let the paperwork do the talking because they didn't own the engine. They were renters, and the lease was almost up. I stayed up that night rereading every section, cross-checking the timestamps, logging the expiration date, double-checking legal backups. I even texted Sheila, just a heads up, no details. She replied in 5 minutes. "Still airtight. You're good." The thing is, they thought I'd just disappear. Thought I'd walk out with a cardboard box, feel sorry for myself, maybe apply for a job somewhere else and forget I ever worked there. They forgot who I was. I don't raise my voice. I don't make noise. But when I move, things shift. I closed the laptop, finally peeled off my coat, and tossed it over the back of the chair. Then I sat down again, opened a fresh document, and started writing dates. 2 weeks. They had no idea the clock had already started. I walked into the office the next morning like it was just another Tuesday. Same bland beige carpet, same stale coffee smell by the break room. But this time, I wasn't alone. Dustin was already waiting by my desk, wearing a navy blazer like he had a press conference after this. He stood when he saw me, eager, clean cut, maybe early 30s, a little too much gel in his hair, soft hands, zero edge. "Hey Nate, right?" he said, holding out his hand. "I've heard a ton about you. Big shoes to fill." I shook it, gave a quick nod. "Yeah, let's get started." Russell stood in his glass-walled corner office, watching like a proud dad at a spelling bee, hands on his hips, probably calculating how much of my salary he'd just pocketed. I pulled up the admin dashboard and started walking Dustin through the basics: user accounts, back-end structure, delivery queue timing. He clicked his pen, took notes, nodded like he understood everything. He didn't. "This is all custom-built, right?" he asked. "From scratch," I said. He blinked. "Okay, cool. So, no documentation?" I tapped the side of my head. "Yeah, it's in here." He laughed, thought I was joking. I wasn't. To his credit, Dustin tried. He asked the right questions, took screenshots, logged into every panel I showed him. But this wasn't plug-and-play software. It was a living thing, patched, rebuilt, bent to the needs of 20 different clients over 10 years. The logic trees alone could bury someone. I wasn't bitter at him. The kid didn't make this decision. He was just another pawn in Russell's game of cut costs and climb higher. But he was in way over his head. By the end of week 1, he still couldn't deploy a patch without breaking something in the quote engine. I watched him quietly panic every time the screen lagged for more than 3 seconds. Week 2, crawled. I kept things surface level, no deeper than I had to. Answered what he asked, didn't volunteer more. I caught Russell peeking through his blinds a few times, sipping his coffee like he just pulled off a genius move. A couple of the developers gave me tight nods in the hallway, but nobody said anything real. HR didn't even schedule an exit interview. I guess they figured I'd just go quietly. Day 14. I packed my box, a mug, a couple notebooks, 2 backup drives I'd already wiped clean. Dustin didn't say much that morning, just hovered, tapping on his keyboard like if he typed fast enough, he'd eventually understand it all. Russell was on the phone when I walked past his office, grinning, laughing, said something about leaner operations and fresh energy. Sure, I didn't stop, didn't say goodbye. The elevator dinged. I stepped in, hit the ground floor, and let the door shut on all of it. Russell's fake empire, Dustin's confusion, every late night I ever gave them. No one followed, no one called after me. And just like that, I was gone. The elevator door shut behind me, and that was the last sound from Cintel I planned to hear for a long time. I got home, kicked off my shoes, and slept like someone who finally dropped a weight he'd carried for a decade. At 6 a.m. sharp, I woke up without an alarm. No hesitation, no second thoughts. I sat at my kitchen table, opened my laptop, and pulled up the portal Sheila had walked me through years ago. My thumb hovered for a second over the trackpad, but only long enough to feel the satisfaction settle in. Then I formally terminated their license and notified my attorney. I made coffee and sat on the couch while the sky outside pushed from black to gray. I wasn't touching their systems or interfering, just waiting for the contractual cutoff to catch up. I knew exactly how long their system would last on an expired core license. Not long. At 8:30 on the dot, my phone buzzed. A text from one of the junior devs, Kyle. "System failure at Cintel. Can you come in?" I stared at the message, took a slow sip, and set the phone back down. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another text. "Everything's freezing. Backend won't authenticate." Then a third. "Dustin said he tried deploying a patch, but it crashed the portal. Please call me." I didn't. At 9:15, my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Office landline. I let it ring twice, then answered. A voice on the other end was shaking. "Nate, it's Lauren from operations. Everything's down, nothing's working. The portals say license expired. We can't process orders. We can't even log in." I leaned my head back on the couch cushion. "Yeah," I said calmly. "That's because it is." Silence. Then a tiny, desperate, "Can you help?" "I'm not employed there anymore," I said. "You'll need to talk to leadership." Before she could respond, I hung up. By 10 a.m., the meltdown was in full swing. My phone lit up in waves. Texts, missed calls, emails, Slack pings. Some from people who never spoke to me unless they needed a miracle. Some from numbers I didn't recognize. A few from Dustin, each more frantic than the last. I muted everything except news alerts. At 11, the first headline hit my screen. Cintel systems hit by sudden tech meltdown. Operations ground to a halt. I turned up the volume on the TV. Reporters stood outside the building I'd walked out of 24 hours earlier, talking about outages, halted shipments, angry clients, and a complete shutdown of internal tools. They kept replaying the same screenshot, a login page with a bright red banner, license expired, contact administrator. Around noon, Russell called. I didn't answer. He called again, and again, and again. 4 calls in 10 minutes. I let everyone go to voicemail. I stretched out on the couch, legs crossed, sipping coffee that had gone cold. The apartment was quiet except for the news anchor explaining how a key software failure has brought the company to a standstill. The 5th time my phone rang, I picked up. Russell didn't even say hello. Nate, listen, please. We need you back here. Something happened with the system. None of us can... Yeah, I said. I saw. You have to fix this, he said. His voice cracked halfway through. We're losing thousands by the minute. Clients are threatening to walk. Whatever you need, salary, bonus, benefits, we'll fix it. Just tell me you're coming in. I stared out the window at the street below. People walked their dogs. A delivery truck beeped as it backed into a loading dock. Normal life. Peaceful. No, I said. Nate, please. I hung up before he could finish. Then I turned off my phone, leaned back, and let the silence swallow the last words he'd ever get from me. The day rolled on, news updates stacking one after another, reporters digging for answers, analysts speculating about catastrophic oversight, clients complaining on forums, employees tweeting cryptic comments about leadership failure. It all snowballed without me lifting a finger. By sunset, the entire industry was watching Cintel fall apart in real time, and I sat on my couch, calm as ever, letting it all happen. By the next morning, the blood was already in the water. Cintel stock opened down 21%. Not because of an official statement, they hadn't even put one out yet, but because people talk, employees talk, and no one inside that building could shut up about what was happening. Around 9 a.m., I got a screenshot from a friend in fintech, a Slack thread from Cintel's sales team, panicking that every client portal was still down. Support tickets were flooding in, and IT hadn't been able to recover anything overnight. Of course they hadn't. You can't fix what doesn't belong to you. By noon, I got a push notification from the Wall Street Journal. Cintel Systems faces major outage amid licensing dispute. That was the first time they used the word dispute. They didn't name me yet, but insiders already knew. And by the time the West Coast got online, my name was circulating like wildfire. Forums lit up. Why would you fire your architect? Cintel deserved this. Corporate greed strikes again. Reddit threads. Hacker News posts. Even some YouTuber made a 5-minute rant titled, How to Lose Your Company Overnight. At 2 o'clock sharp, Russell finally stepped in front of the cameras. I watched it live on my laptop, sipping hot coffee this time, relaxed as hell. He stood at a podium inside their lobby, suit wrinkled, eyes bagged, hands shaking slightly as he fumbled with a prepared statement. The reporters didn't wait. First question right out the gate. Can you confirm the rumors that your company no longer holds the rights to the core software running your logistics systems? He blinked, froze, then muttered, no comment. That was the moment it all snapped. The camera flashbulbs lit up like fireworks. Another reporter shouted, Is it true your former lead engineer revoked the license? Russell didn't answer, just looked like he aged 10 years and 10 seconds. I closed the laptop halfway through the press conference. Didn't need to see the rest. My phone buzzed again. Non-stop now. LinkedIn messages, recruiter invites, even DMs from old coworkers. Half of them were praising me. The other half just wanted to know what really happened. One message stood out. Saw what went down with Cintel. I've got a team of 30 looking for leadership. Let's talk. Then another. We've got seed money. You've got credibility. You want to build something? And another. Whatever you're doing next, we want in. By late afternoon, Cintel stock had tanked 41%. Investors were bailing left and right. No plan, no fix. And now, no trust. I saw a tweet from some junior engineer inside Cintel. 3 VPs just quit. One of them walked out mid-call. Another tweet under it. Someone just screamed in the server room. Not kidding. It was like watching a building collapse in slow motion, floor by floor, wire by wire, from the inside out. They tried everything. I heard they even brought in outside consultants, some big firm from Chicago. But it didn't matter. None of those people had the blueprint, and without me, there was no fix. They gambled, cut their costs, got their leaner operation, and now they were bleeding out in the middle of a public square, while the whole industry watched. I didn't post anything, didn't make a statement. I wasn't going to give them that. Let people guess, let them fill in the blanks. Meanwhile, I opened another message, this one from a well-known VC partner. You've got our attention, let us know if you're ready to talk. I smiled, set my phone down, and turned off the TV. They wanted lean, I was just getting started. The next morning, my voicemail inbox was full. Not full like, you have a few new messages. Full as in, you can't receive any more messages at this time. The first 5 were from Russell, desperate voice, then fake calm, then desperate again. Somewhere around message 8, he started mentioning the board, said they wanted to set up a meeting to discuss options. Right. The 12th voicemail was from a woman named Judith, board chair, said she understood there had been miscommunication and wanted to get everything back on track. Her voice was smooth, practiced. She didn't even say what the company did wrong, just floated around phrases like collaboration and moving forward. Translation, they were screwed and needed me to mop it up. By noon, the offers started coming in. First, Russell tried to double my old salary. Then he called again, this time offering to triple it. With full benefits, bonuses, equity, he said, like he was reading off a damn car commercial. I let it all sit. Calls kept coming in. Emails, a few texts from old coworkers, asking if I'd really torched the company. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. By late afternoon, my phone rang again. I recognized the number. I answered this time. Nate, Russell said. His voice was tight, but he was trying to act casual. Glad we could finally connect. Uh-huh. I think it's time we sat down. No hard feelings, just a couple professionals talking through a solution. You've made your point, loud and clear. I didn't say anything. He chuckled. Forced, awkward. You've still got a lot of allies here, man. People who respect you. Let's talk. No, I said. You don't want to talk. You want me to fix the mess you made. He tried again, softer this time. Let's be honest, Nate. You're one of the smartest guys I've ever worked with. But this isn't helping anyone. The company's hurting. Our clients are hurting. You needed me, I said, calm and clear. I never needed you. Then I hung up. I sat back in my chair, black coffee in one hand, watching as the fallout came in as 8 live. The lawsuits started hitting that night. Breach of contract, data loss, missed deliveries. One major client in Texas filed a multi-million-dollar claim by dinner time. I saw the PDF before they did. Someone leaked it online, and it spread like wildfire. Russell's face was on every headline. Tired, sagging, hollow-eyed behind designer glasses. The press had stopped asking questions and started pointing fingers. The board tried to spin it for a minute, claimed they were investigating the disruption. But nobody bought it. The timeline was public. The documents were real. Industry insiders were already laying it all out, step by step, and every single one led back to the same mistake. They fired the one guy who knew how the system worked. 72 hours after that last call, Russell was gone. No statement, no LinkedIn post, just vanished. One of the devs texted me a photo from inside the office. Russell's nameplate in the trash, Judith in his chair. I didn't reply to that either. I just sat in my living room, mug still warm in my hand, and watched the company that thought I was disposable get torn apart from the inside. By Friday morning, my inbox looked like a job board. 4 major competitors, 2 VC firms, offers left and right, CTO roles, head of product, full control, name your number. One guy even offered me a blank check and told me to fill it in. I didn't even click reply. I wasn't looking for another desk in someone else's office. I wasn't going to spend another 10 years building someone else's empire. I knew exactly what I wanted. So I built a deck. Clean, fast, no fluff. Just the idea. A lean software company. No bloated departments. No boardrooms full of clueless execs. Just talent. Real engineers, real builders. Small team, fast hands, full ownership. We'd do what Cintel pretended to do, but actually deliver. I sent it to 5 people. 2 called me within an hour. By the next day, funding was locked. 48 hours. That's all it took. No chasing, no negotiating. Just quiet yeses from people who understood what I'd done, and more importantly, what I could build next. Turns out, when you take down a giant without lifting a finger, people pay attention. Cintel was still unraveling. The headlines hadn't stopped. Clients flee sinking tech firm. Former exec sues Cintel for mismanagement. Software meltdown sparks industry panic. Every day, another domino. I didn't have to say a word. Their reputation was chewing itself alive. Then the resumes started rolling in. Former engineers, account managers, a couple project leads. All of them polite, professional, desperate to jump ship before the floor gave out. Some of them tried to act casual. Saw no ownership. Just 2 words. I stared at it for a few seconds. Then I dragged it straight into the trash and emptied it. Sunday morning, I signed the final paperwork with my investors. A modest round, nothing flashy, but enough to get rolling. Office space was optional. We were going to stay distributed, tight-knit, code first. My kind of people. By Monday, we had a name, a site, and a plan. While Cintel was on life support, bleeding clients, begging for new leadership, I was building something from scratch with people who knew how to move. No fluff, no politics, just pure execution. That first week, I met with 10 engineers, hired 4, all hungry, all sharp, no dead weight. I didn't need a fancy title. I didn't need applause. I just needed to never work for someone like Russell again. I shut the laptop. No more emails, no more voicemails with fake urgency, no more apologies written by legal teams and PR reps. It was done. The company that treated me like I was just another number, it was still burning, and I hadn't even touched the match. I stood, stretched, cracked my knuckles, and walked out onto the balcony. New York buzzed below me, taxis honking, distant sirens, early evening chatter rising from the street. The kind of noise that reminded you the world keeps moving, no matter who collapses. 10 years of grinding, gone in a blink. 10 years of being the guy who cleaned up after everyone else's bad decisions. The fixer, the quiet brain in the background. I gave them loyalty. They gave me a cardboard box. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was done tying my value to someone else's salary sheet. I was done pretending like a paycheck meant security. The industry knew who I was now. Not because I begged for recognition, not because I posted some slick thread on LinkedIn about lessons learned. They knew me because they had no choice. Because when everything broke, the only name anyone remembered was mine. That wasn't ego. That was fact. And I wasn't going back. Not to the late nights where credit went to someone else. Not to the meetings where my ideas got ignored until someone louder repeated them. Not to begging for a raise from people who couldn't write a single line of code. I was building forward, with people who actually did the work, with teams that didn't need approval from 5 layers of middle management to ship a single feature. No fluff, no politics, just execution. Russell would spend the rest of his career trying to explain what went wrong without ever saying my name out loud. Let him, let them all. They gambled, they lost, and I walked away clean. The best revenge? It wasn't hacking their systems or torching their data. It was standing right here, above it all, while the pieces crashed behind me,